All right, good morning. I guess we will kick it off this morning. Please join me in welcoming our first speaker this morning, Fredrik Rickman, who's the CEO of Prostatype Genomics. The symbol is PGABF. It's now publicly traded in the U.S. OTCQB venture market as of March 13th, 2025, so recently. Prostatype Genomics is a Swedish precision diagnostic company dedicating to improving prostate cancer treatment, improving prostate cancer treatment decisions through its flagship product, Prostatype. I need my glasses. That will help. Prostatype, which is a CE-marked AI-powered genomic test, developed out of the research of the Carolina Institute. Prostatype provides urologists and patients with critical prognostic insight following a prostate cancer diagnosis. What makes Prostatype different is its ability to analyze gene expression from prostate tissue and use of an AI-driven algorithm to stratify patients' risk into groups. This helps doctors more accurately determine whether a patient should undergo radical treatment, such as surgery or radiation, or safely choose active surveillance. By reducing both overtreatment and undertreatment, the test offers better outcomes for patients and cost savings for healthcare systems. It is currently the only prostate cancer genomic test available in kit format, making it a highly scalable and adaptable across different healthcare environments, which is a key advantage as the company expands into the U.S. and European markets. Fredrik, we're excited to have you here. Thanks for joining, and I give you Fredrik Rick.
Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks, Eric, for a wonderful introduction. I think there's nothing more to say when it comes to the scientific part. Eric made a very nice summary indeed. First of all, it's the first time I'm here at CAGLA, and I really have to say it's been a fantastic experience this far. The welcoming and all the smiles and the joy I experience from people visiting or attending this meeting is really something special. So very impressive and unique in many ways. So well done, Chad, Eric, and others who are working very hard with this meeting. The focus of my presentation will be a bit directed towards Prostatype Genomics from an investment point of view, or from an investor point of view. There are many things to be said around Prostatype. I will touch on it. Eric already touched on it a little bit, but I would like to focus a bit on Prostatype from an investor point of view. As mentioned, we are a spin-off originally from Karolinska Institute in Stockholm. The company was... sorry for the technical hiccup. Anyhow, Prostatype Genomics is not a new company. We were founded already back in 2007. We have been listed in Stockholm on the Nasdaq First North growth market. And as Eric said, we are available for trade also in the US now since 13th of March this year. We established our US subsidiary back in 2022. And we are actually looking for growth capital. This is not an R&D company or a startup any longer. We are actually in the commercialization phase. And in order to grow, we need funds. So looking at prostate cancer, as many of you, well, I'm sure all of you know, this is actually the most common form of cancer in the US as well as in Western Europe. Unfortunately, it's also rising in areas like Asia. Today, approximately 1.5 million men are diagnosed with prostate cancer each year, and it is expected to be double that in 2040. So in 15 years' time, we have approximately 3 million people diagnosed with prostate cancer. But there are also some good news when it comes to prostate cancer. The clinical challenge is actually not really fatality, but it is, as mentioned previously, the challenge in actually classifying the patient during the diagnostic phase into the right risk group or correct risk group. And to make it simple, you can say that today the patient is classified in 1 out of 3 different risk groups: high risk, intermediate risk group, or low risk group. The majority of patients are diagnosed within the low and intermediate risk group. Approximately 65 to 70% of all newly diagnosed patients falls into that category. However, if you look at the risk of actually dying from prostate cancer within the low and intermediate risk group, the number is quite low. It's only between 1 and 3%, depending on what study you look at. The risk is obviously higher if you are diagnosed as a high-risk patient. Then any form of radical treatment is often to be recommended. But if we look at the low death rate in the low and intermediate risk group of 1 to 3%, we should put that into perspective that depending on what country we're talking about here, somewhere between 55 and 95% of all the patients in the low and intermediate risk group are actually undergoing radical treatment. And what is the problem with radical treatment then for these patients? Well, it is the side effects. Approximately 50% of all patients, unfortunately, suffer from impotence after any form of radical treatment, and 15 to 25%, again, depending on what study you look at, will suffer from incontinence. And the problem with these side effects is that they are lifelong. So if we can narrow the gap between those who actually need treatment and those who actually undergo the treatment, so to speak, that would benefit the patients, the healthcare community, and the payers, of course. So it's been a lot about precision medicine during these days here at CAGLA, and we are a good example of precision medicine. That's exactly what we are working with. Our test is called Prostatype. It consists of 3 parts, really, which you can see on the screen over there. It's a laboratory kit based on a simple PCR technology. And then it's combined with algorithms and comprehensive databases. And when developing a product such as Prostatype, you need long follow-up times, as prostate cancer generally takes a long time to develop, and you need a lot of data. So it's about data, really data-driven, this product. The system is developed. It's already commercially available in the USA as well as in Europe. So looking at an ordinary development phase, which I'm sure colleagues from the industry and also myself is painfully aware of, that it takes time to develop a product, especially within the prostate cancer field, as long follow-up times really are needed in order to be safe and secure of the test you are providing. So starting from the left to the right, it takes time. You go through all the early research phase, the non-clinical R&D, and the clinical R&D. In the meantime, you work in parallel tracks. You try to develop a product that actually works, in our case, in a laboratory. And once you have done that, then you enter the green field, which is the regulatory process. And I'm sure that many of you are aware of that the regulatory phase can take a lot of time. It can cost a lot of money. So just because you have a product, you also need to take this into consideration. And from an investor point of view, obviously, from the very beginning of a product's life cycle, development phase, the risk is high. And this risk goes down as time goes by and you develop your product and you get confirmation that your product actually works. Not internally, but externally in different kinds of validation studies. And once you have done that, you can say that from a technical point of view, the risk is low. And that's exactly where we are with Prostatype Genomics. We are not an R&D case any longer. We have a product that is commercially available. All the regulatory demands are put in place. We have fulfilled that, both in Europe as well as in the US. So from a technical point of view, the risk in investing in Prostatype genomics is quite low, or very low, I would like to say. And we have some experiences which I briefly would like to share with you when it comes to our launch in Europe, and compare that to the situation in USA. USA is our focus and has been that for quite a while. And when you look at Europe, prognostic biomarkers used for prostate cancer is not reimbursed in any country. It's not even included in European guidelines for urologists. So the level of clinical experience among doctors in Europe, or urologists in Europe, in general is very low. And unfortunately, we have no competition. So being a small company, that is a true challenge. I mean, we are talking about the European Union, which in many ways is a good thing. But then you need to remember, and we need to remember, that you have 27 countries in the European Union, and you have 27 different hospital systems, or healthcare systems, I should say. So it's very difficult to find synergies between one country and another. So it is a challenge for a small company like us with these hurdles. Compared to the US, where we have competition, there are 3 similar products available since many years in the US. And as you can see on the screen, prognostic biomarkers in the US have been in clinical use for approximately 15 years. Prognostic biomarkers are also reimbursed by the insurance systems. Medicare, for example, reimburse our competitors today at $3,783 per test. And very important from a clinical point of view is that prognostic biomarkers actually are included in the clinical guidelines. So if you compare Europe to USA, it's 2 completely different worlds. And we are very much looking forward to our future journey in the US. And we have reasons to be optimistic. I will not dig into all the details here, but what we see from performed external validation studies is that as many as 35 to 40% of all patients would be reclassified if the healthcare system used Prostatype. I've been working in this life science industry for 35 years now. That's a long time, or 33 years. And I've only experienced performance data like this once in my whole career. So this is the least of our challenges, or the smallest challenge we have. That's the product performance. It's really, really strong. Also compared, if you compare our performance to our competitors, I should be careful here saying that there are no studies yet where we compare competitors directly to Prostatype. There are no such studies available. So we have to look at the performance from our competitor studies and compare those results with the results from our studies. And by doing so, we can draw the conclusion that we are at least as effective, probably a bit more effective than the current market leader in the US. We have also just recently completed an American validation study in association with Veteran Affairs and Professor Stephen Friedland at Cedars-Sinai in Los Angeles. We will send out a press release on Monday with the preliminary results. So I'm not able to give you those results yet, but if you see me smiling during the upcoming presentation or when we meet outside, then maybe you can draw your own conclusions. Also, health economy is getting more and more important. We have positive data, very positive data from Europe, and we are in the process of finalizing an American report as well, which looks promising at this stage. So we are ready for launch in the USA. The current market is valued at approximately $400 million per year. The market size is around, the total market size, or market potential I should say, is around $900 million per year. And we have already a market penetration of 40% in the US, which is quite impressive. If we look at Europe, I would say 0.004% market penetration. And again, as mentioned, this is a market that is growing. And we have, as I already touched on, completed all regulatory processes, and we have all the licenses needed in place in Europe as well as in the USA. And one small detail I would like to put your attention on is that Prostatype Genomics, we are the holder of the so-called CLIA license, which is the reimbursement license really. That means that the full reimbursement amount goes undiluted to us, to the company. We are ready to go. We have a commercial plan developed. It is ready to be executed. There is one final thing left, and that is that we are waiting for the Medicare approval in order to be included in the reimbursement system. And we did submit our application in September last year. We are in dialogue with Medicare, and this is a process that takes some time. What we have done here is that we have not, complicated life more than absolutely needed. So we have applied for inclusion in already existing Medicare codes. And the existing codes is valid for our competitors. And we are also applying for the same reimbursement level as our competitors. Prostatype, I should say, will be launched as an LDT product, which stands for Laboratory Developed Test. So we are not going down the FDA route, which saves time, saves money, and we are doing exactly the same thing as our American competitors are doing, as they also are classified as LDTs. So we're simply copying what they already have done. And this, in total, reduces the risk as well, of course, from an investor point of view. Yes, so why is, I think, Prostatype interesting from an investor point of view? Well, the current valuation is nothing to be proud of, and I know we are not alone. The biotech sector has been under pressure for some time, but we must have been under extreme pressure because I'll let you look at this yourselves and draw your own conclusions. Also, what should be mentioned here is that in general, there are differences in valuations of life science companies in US as well compared to Europe. So in the USA, similar companies in general are valued at a higher rate or a higher level than European life science companies. So that puts an extra opportunity, of course, into hands. Again, as mentioned, we have already developed products, so there is no technical risk in this project. It is in clinical use, which is important, which also will minimize the time until we actually create revenue in the US market, as certain selected key opinion leaders already are familiar with the product. And the gross margins we are working with is very good indeed. We are more similar to pharmaceuticals when it comes to the gross margins. So from an investor point of view, you should not look at Prostatype as a diagnostic company or a prognostic company. From a financial point of view, you should view it as more similar, at least, compared to pharmaceutical companies. And finally, I've already mentioned this, so I will not repeat myself, but the market conditions in US are very favorable from our point of view. We have already a laboratory up and running in California that will manage the tests in the US market. And I think also from an investor point of view, the timing to invest in our company is actually quite good right now, as we have a short-term significant milestone that will be fulfilled, and that is the Medicare approval. And finally, the last slide I have is the team who will actually do this. And I would like to pay your attention on the persons second from the left and third from the left. That's Steve Gall, our US president, with a lot of experience from prognostic biomarkers in the USA, and one of the best urologists in the US, Professor Gerald Andreoli. Both of them are actually here in the room. So you can wave. You can wave. Yeah. Very good. So if you have any questions regarding Prostatype, you can turn to Steve or to Jerry or to myself.